afternoon. You know, most people always ask me, you know, how did you get there? How do you have what you have? Yankee Steiner, 20-year relationship with Derek Jeter. Or they'll say, how did you get started? Don't have enough time to cover it all today. So I figured I'd take you a little bit kind of at the beginning, and I'd get you to kind of one of my crossroads that I thought would be worth talking about. For me, it started, well, I actually started working when I was 10, but by the age of 12 was kind of a pivotal moment. I decided that delivering fruit and vegetables for Freddie the Fruit Man wasn't going to be the right job for me. I put a few cookie and lemonade stands out of business at that point. I was hustling around the neighborhood. I was into about 3 or 4 jobs, and being that I was kind of a little bit of an older kid at that point, I think I was 12, I decided I wanted to do something that wouldn't hold me back from playing sports in the afternoon and playing sports in the afternoon and playing sports on a Saturday. So I decided to open up a paper route. It was kind of a common thing, although after that speaker before me, not feeling too good. If anybody even knows, you know, we actually used to deliver newspapers. It's something that we'd go around the neighborhood and do. So I grew up in Brooklyn and on top of a Glock kosher butcher. To say things were tough is an understatement. I woke up every morning in a Glock kosher butcher. They killed the chickens in the butcher shop. So every morning I'd wake up, you know, whacking heads. If you're lucky, you got a little steam, you got a little heat maybe. So things were tough. And you know, when I tell you that I was working since I'm 12, I think some of you may have kids that are out there. I mean, I'm hoping my 10 or 12-year-old just gets up and maybe can get dressed and go down for breakfast. So I'm up, and I'm already at this point pretty independent, working on a daily basis on my own. And I go to the newspaper route store, and I open up a route, and I see there's not only, he gives me a route, 29 dailies, 34 Sundays, but there's a contest. Win a box of candy bars, whoever opens up the most accounts this week. So I'm buzzing around Brooklyn trying to do that, and I tell people all the time I saw the light at an early age. Unfortunately, it was the refrigerator light because that refrigerator was empty, and I was hungry. So there's no way I was not going to win that contest. I said to my mother, I said, Mom, you know, I got to win this contest. She says, well, you know, you got to get out there. You got to knock on doors. That's exactly what I did. And I ran into this, about a 70-year-old woman, and I figured she had the stack of papers inside her door. I figured she's an easy target. Maybe, bingo, she's going to buy the paper. Ma'am, would you like to get the paper delivered? No. I'm going to be here every morning by 7 a.m. I'm never going to be late. Trust me. She says, yeah, but I get the paper at the corner store. I said, it's 8 cents from me, and it's 8 cents at the corner store. She said, yeah, but then I got to tip you. I go home, and I say, Mom, I cannot believe how cheap the people are in this neighborhood. I can't believe what's wrong with this neighborhood. What is the story? And, you know, my mother, who was always a guiding light and always teaching me quite a bit, said, Brandon, you got to differentiate yourself. You can't expect to sell something that everyone else has the same way. Now, as a 12-year-old, I was trying to get Mom wrapped around that. Differentiate myself. And so I'm right back at it, and I'm looking at these tall buildings in Brooklyn, and I'm saying, geez, I'm walking by all these buildings, and somehow these people got to register with me to get my paper. So I start knocking on doors again. I go back to the woman. I said, Sonny, I told you. I don't want to get the newspaper delivered. I think I told you that. I said, ma'am, very concerned. I've been thinking about you lately. If there's a rainstorm, snow, heat wave, blizzard, how are you going to get your paper? And how do you get your milk and bread? If I bring you milk and bagels every Wednesday and Sunday, and your paper every morning by 7, regardless of the weather, would you get the paper delivered for me then? You would do that for me? So I was concerned. I was just thinking. So 199 dailies later, 234 Sundays, 2 shopping carts later to be delivering those papers on a Sunday, and 3 boxes of candy bars. Thank God. I was rolling. And I understood finally at an early age about value proposition. Now, how that story relates to all of you is it's really not about what you're selling. It's about the people that you're selling it to and how they need to receive it. Are you out there selling, or are you out there listening and really understanding about what people really need and how they need to receive it? Vital lesson. Now, most of you probably know Steiner Sports, or maybe you've heard of Brandon Steiner, you know, Yankee Steiner, 20 years with Derek Jeter. I mean, trust me, the New York Yankees did not need Steiner. How I convinced them to put my name next to theirs is a blessing. It's the only company that's ever been done, and we weren't that big a company when we did it. But it was value proposition. I wanted to secure fans. We got together with the Yankees, and sure, there was a possibility that we were going to make some money, but it was the value proposition. It was the idea of saying, hey, let's protect fans. If they were going to collect stuff down the road, all these people are going through fake Babe Ruth bats and everything else. 50 years from now, we can protect the fan base and make sure that what they had was going to be safe. I love that, because their fan base was everything to the Yankees. And same thing with Derek Jeter with his Turn 2 Foundation. It was very important. Sure, there was the marketing and stuff I wanted to do with Derek, but the Turn 2 and the charity work and the grinding of starting a foundation was where my head went, because I knew that from the very beginning, the value proposition and understanding what the other person needed was the most important thing. For me, it all started with you gotta have balls. My mother's favorite line, by the way, so don't be misunderstood, that my mother was always, you gotta have balls, get out there, be fearless, don't be afraid, you know, get out there, do the right thing, do things the right way, don't put a ceiling on what you're doing. So moving ahead here, we were rolling. Steiner was rolling, and there's quite a bit of stories in between, but 2007, not only was I going, I mean, enthusiastically, I mean, sprinting, I mean, on a run, but I was finally sprinting enthusiastically in the wrong direction, because all of a sudden the recession hit, and I actually delusionally thought that there's no way, regardless of the economy, that that would affect my company. But obviously that wasn't the case. So in 2007, we had a pivotal moment where all of a sudden my stuff was pretty expensive, and we realized that we had to kind of make a little bit of a change, and that's where, thank God, value proposition kicked in. Short little video.
Steiner, the only guy I know that can make millions of dollars selling dirt. And when he has something really good, he can make lots more than that.
If it was for me, that would never happen, because I didn't have the eye for that. He has the mentality for that. You know, he has the eye of, you know, the dirt. Who would have thought about dirt? Well, you know, he did.
I was like, look, Derek Jeter's jersey's great, but that dirt he's standing on, that's pretty cool. There's a hollow ground. It's like, you may want a little something from where all those great men have walked. So we just started selling dirt, and we have almost between $50 and $60 million of dirt sales and climbing.
You must be sad there's no dirt to sell.
Yeah, but we're gonna sell the court.
So I'm thinking, people aren't going to be able to afford that Derek Jeter game used jersey, all these expensive team signed pieces. So the first thing that happened was, well, I realized I had an excessive amount of balls. So everything always does start with a problem. And I was sitting in a room and I said, you know, we got balls. What the hell are we going to do with them? So I figured we put a campaign together, we got balls. And you know, sure enough, we had about 200,000 or 300,000 balls. And all of a sudden, stock was starting to raise. So we came up with this campaign, we got balls. And again, thinking a little harder, I was thinking, wow, that's a lot of balls. We've sold and we have a lot of balls. Well, you need a place to put your balls. So we came up with the idea, you know, we had a simple cube, because everybody that have these autographed balls and these signed balls, they needed a place to put their balls. And sure enough, we have a $1 cube there. It's an acrylic cube. Cost us, I think, 83 cents, and I think we sold it for $5. And I was thinking, you know something? You got to have a much more, at least a better place to put your balls. So I was thinking that we went a little more upscale, and we came up with this glass case with special UV case protected, so we protect the autograph. And that's a glass with cherry wood on the bottom, and we moved to basically a $19.99 product. Not bad, good margin. Went to China, made those. I think the cost on that was about $4.70, so it was good margins. We were able to wholesale that retail. We knew there was a lot of people that needed a place to put their balls, and we were actually just taking care of a problem that existed. Well, moving to the next slide here for a minute. Well, here's the thing. As a kid, and this is how everything that comes around turns around, I had a lot of learning disabilities, really trouble reading. I saw everything through pictures. So for me, Steiner was really created through remembering the moment. It was all about the photos. It was all about images and taking, instead of just athletes and celebrities signing anything, I always would think that there's a special moment. I was reading a story to my kid. He was about 6 years old, and I didn't read much. I mean, I did read the 2 books I wrote and maybe a couple others, but you know, a lot of pictures in those books, by the way. And I was thinking, you know, my kids know that I never read them a story. I'd make up a story. So they always question every story I give them because I've read them the stories, and most of the stories I read to them when they were younger were not true. But on this particular night, there was a picture of Mark Messier that I always had in my office of him holding the Stanley Cup, my favorite sports moment. And I was reading Crosby a story about why that photo meant so much to me. Now, I was always a big magazine collector and had all these books with photos in them. And so I turned to Crosby, I said, you know, I want to tell you why this photo means so much to me. And I started telling the story about 1994 when the Rangers won the Cup. And I realized about 15 or 20 seconds into this story, he's fast asleep. And I'm sitting there saying, wow, I love this story. I think I've got to finish the story. This is great. So I kind of go through the whole thing, just in case I have to put him to sleep again with another story. I got the story ready to go. And I realized that it's all about the moment. It's always about the moment. So to kind of come full circle, I went in the office the next day and I had, you know, basically about 10 or 15,000 magazines. I have a lot of issues with collecting. So I went through all these magazines. There was no internet, and I started ripping out great moments in sports history. Bobby Orr flying through the air, Carlton Fisk waving his hand, Franco Harris, the immaculate reception, Kirk Gibson with his famous home run. I clipped them all. It took me about 3 months to find the photographers, then we'd find the players. Now I realized in this whole process where you got balls, I realized that a lot of times you can't read the autograph. So the way this all comes kind of full circle is, I put this magical, you know, remember the moment line of product together. And everybody thinks of me for the autographs and the memorabilia and those kind of things. But I took those photos, put them in the back of the case, because the ball goes in the case, took the game-used dirt, put that in the case, which, by the way, that case over there to the left is $49.99. Can't keep them in stock. I think the dirt has about a 50% increase in the cost of the $463 that we paid for the glass case, but the customers are ecstatic because we're giving them what they wanted, what they needed, the way they needed it, because they had all these balls they had collected, and they couldn't understand the autograph sometimes or what was in them. It was a beautiful way to showcase the ball and explain to people whose autograph that was. So sometimes, and how this maybe story relates to you, is sometimes you have really the success that's standing right in front of you. I don't know why I went with the dirt. But certainly we have dirt pens, dirt keychains, dirt clocks. We have a map that's got dirt from every team around the league. And we've sold about $60 million worth of dirt so far and climbing. The best thing was, I think sometimes when you're helpless, you know, you want to help somebody. So one of the best stories is I really wanted to thank Brian Cashman for some stuff he had done for me at the Yankees. And I had my graphic people design a map with all the different ballparks. So I always thought the ballparks were unique. And then he brought that map up. I said, that's really nice, but maybe let's take a little dirt from every ballpark and put a capsule around each stadium. He comes up, I said, wow, that's really different. And the viscosity of the dirt was unique, it was different, it varied. Some of the colors were different. Certainly the thickness and texture of each ballpark's dirt was different. So when I was writing the letter to Brian, I said, Brian, I just want to thank you for everything you've done. Now you have a little dirt on every team in your office. And sometimes a gift like that can lead to success. So we've sold thousands and thousands of those dirt ballpark maps, because I think it's important to not only collect the dirt, but the 3,000 hit dirt for Derek. We sold, well, 5,000 or 6,000 of those capsules of dirt. So every time something magical happens on the field, there's a little capsule of dirt that we sell for about $20 with a cost of about, well, you can understand the margins are great. What's nice about the inventory levels on this is underneath the dirt is a lot more dirt. So I think sometimes, you know, when you look at some of your obstacles and you look at that recession, which, you know, really, it was I mean, can you imagine sprinting in the wrong direction? I had to come up with something quick. I had to come up with something fast that I thought my fan base and my customer base could afford. So what's better than some dirt products? You know, it's to kind of keep the ball rolling. It's kind of a modern day version of a rabbit's foot, frankly. I mean, just kind of like, it's kind of good luck. You have a little piece of history. I mean, after all, in Yankee Stadium, Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Derek Jeter, all the greats have walked on that hollow ground. It's special. It's cool, I think. So when it comes together and you look at the different products, it's, sometimes it's not only about coming up with an idea, but also about activating and being creative and combining it with another idea that sometimes can get you to success. For me, my back was against the wall, and I used the things that I learned, that my mother taught me, which one of the first things she had taught me was value proposition and listening. Differentiate yourself, but listen to what people really need and present the things that you're selling to the way they need to hear it. And for me, that's simply what I've done with the dirt. I mean, I know that every time I see a ball player go on the field, the first thing they do is they grab a little dirt, and I thank them for promoting my product. Derek Jeter was rolling his eyes. I said, yeah, but you were on the field. You did grab a little handful of dirt, and I've got a picture of that. Thank you for promoting my product. And I see it, old-timers, I see, in the championship games, we're all run to the mound to grab some dirt. Thank you for promoting my product. All free publicity, all free promotions. And I'm grateful for it. So in our factory, which I hope you some point come up to New Rochelle and visit us, a 60,000 square foot unit and 125 employees later. We started Steiner with $4,000 and a couple dreams and a lot of different twists and turns. You'll see this whole area of dirt. There's a director of dirt, because we can't just open up dirt. It needs to all be supervised. All the dirt is authenticated, so nothing ever gets opened without an independent authenticator to make sure that the specific dirt from that game or ballpark is matching up to the dirt products we create. And you never know where your ideas are going to come from. I mean, we never thought that taking a photo, which really looked good, but making it 3D by spraying an adhesive on there and putting dirt on there, or a case. It was kind of nice having the ball in the case, but it's kind of nice the fact that we were able to put some dirt on the bottom of it to create that ballpark feel. So sometimes your imagination can go a little wild, and then you'd be surprised. Then people kind of take things into their own hands where, people are collecting dirt now from every season, from every ballpark, and it becomes a continuity program. So many of you are thinking, hey, this guy's a little crazy. But besides that, a lot of you are thinking, what are you selling and how are you differentiating yourself? And are you selling it the way your customers need to receive it? But also, if you've got a nice building, you don't always have to build another building next to it. You may want to take a step back, take out a white piece of paper, and look at what you really have. Most people saw Derek Jeter, and I have that great Yankee relationship, and I love Derek Jeter, and I see him clearly. But if I just looked 5 feet, there was that dirt. And I knew that most people couldn't afford to wear his cleats or buy his jersey, but I knew they would maybe want the dirt that he was standing on. Question is, what are you missing? What's the value proposition right at your feet, where maybe you don't need to go put another building up or open up another division or come up with a new product, but maybe you just need to reinvent the product you have or just maybe make a slight adjustment to it. And that's kind of what I've been doing for 28 years at Steiner. I'm still having a kick-ass time, enjoy doing it every day, coming up with the next big, cool, crazy idea that I know will drive fans and have fans enjoy these moments. So thanks for having me today. Thank you.